Hello and welcome to Tartan Touchdown, episode 4. This is our regular look at what is going on in the world of American football. After a few weeks apart, we finally got the band back together for this episode. First up, we have Sarah. Well, she told us this week she didn't want to be on this week's show. She went back to her husband and told him she wanted to stay with him today because it's a 6 month wedding anniversary. Then she sneakily messaged us and said, Actually, I want to come on, but I haven't told Jamie. I've told him I'm going to the vet with the dog. She finally came clean and told him, and she's joining us tonight with no guilty conscience. Sarah, how are you?
I'm great. Do you know what? It's just like I'm the Bucks offensive coordinator doing some sneaky business. That's fine by me.
I was going to slag off Gav tonight about the Giants letting Bartley go again in the off season. However, by not saying anything and just let it sit in his head probably makes it worse for him. So, Gav, how are you?
I'm fine, and I've got my defences ready to go on that one every day. It's been a good week, and a couple of cracking championship games last night. So ready to get down to business.
Yeah. For anyone who's watching, listen, if you didn't already know, then spoiler alert: at Super Bowl 59 will be the Chiefs and the Eagles, and we're just now going to take you a quick summary of each of the conference championship games. So we'll start with the order that they were playing in. So the NFC game with the Eagles 55. Commanders 23. Very much a story of a turnovers in this game. 3 fumbles and an interception by the Commanders, which led to 28 points from the Eagles on those turnovers. So, Gav, how would you sum this game up?
I mean, I would sum it up with exactly that. 28 points off the turnovers absolutely killed the Commanders. And I think it's fair to say in this one that actually, 3 out of those 4 turnovers weren't on Jaden Daniels. I think we love to talk about the quarterbacks in these games. Actually, Jaden Daniels did plenty to keep the Commanders in the game. But when you have those momentum swings, and crucially when Philadelphia punishing those momentum swings to the tune of 28 points, it's really difficult. I know that the fourth turnover was an interception, but by that point, the game's gone. You're just trying to force something to make something happen. But yeah, I mean, dominant win for the Eagles. I think really showed that they can, they can set the tempo on both sides of the ball. Obviously, with some of the praises of Saquon Barkley in particular all year long. But I think, as we saw last week with the Rams game as well, the Philly defense, when they need to, they will stand up. And they can make a play, and they will have every reason to feel confident going into New Orleans in 2 weeks' time.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, Jaden Daniels, like that boy. Obviously, there's a couple of where I cut him this past season. The interception at the end was just I'm going to try my best to get something out of this game, but he probably couldn't have played any better in that game. Looking at his stats, he did chuck the ball 48 times compared to Hurts was 28. So it shows you most of the Eagles Commanders game was having to come on through the air. But he only threw for 255. Compare that to Hurts. Hurts was 28 for 246. So there wasn't a massive difference in the amount of yards between them, but Daniels threw for just under double what Hurts threw for. So he did have to throw a ball, didn't he, say, and it just didn't come off most of the time.
Yeah, I think it was a big show up of how the Eagles have got here, and the Eagles have got here from that defense. Like, that's how they have been winning, and that's how they've been pushing through those margins. Obviously, we can talk about Saquon Barkley until we're all red in the face, and we can shower him with the praise that he's already got. But that is the proof is in the pudding. There is that you can't throw the ball. There's not making any catches. There's nothing happening there because the Eagles' defense was all over him. And I'm so shocked because obviously we know Jaden Daniels. Obviously we know what he does with his virtual reality. We know he's good in the pocket. We know he preps. We know he's ready for it. But that defensive line was rattling through and absolutely storming them. And yeah, that was I guess that was the Cinderella story, was the Eagles' defence.
Yeah, I think what they were obviously impacted by Sam Cosmi out last week. It was his knee injury, so they had unknown kind of offensive line that, but protecting. And Jalen Carter he ran riot through that offensive line all night. And then they obviously got help for other people on the line as well. But Zach Bond, he had another great game for the Eagles last night on that defence. 8 solo tackles. And also, I think did he cause one of the fumbles? Let me just check. Yeah, he forced one of the fumbles.
One of the punches out. Yeah.
Yeah, was it the Eckler one, wasn't it?
Yeah. We're talking about that during the game. Is that's what they went into the game talking about how they have to make it happen. If somebody comes out with the ball, you're punching it out, and that was all over. It was apparent that was their main goal. Yeah. So I'll be interested to see what happens in 2 weeks and how that maybe has an impact on the outcome of the Super Bowl.
Yeah, they did mention during comms that that's one of the things that Nick Sirianni says. If someone's getting up with the ball, the first thing you do is go for the ball. Don't tackle, just go for the ball because that's at their weakest point. And when you watch the Eckler one back, you can see he's getting no protection on that ball at all, and it is brought by Zach Bonin. You don't just do that just naturally. That is practice and practice and practice to just do that constantly. So the Commanders couldn't really deal with the the defense of the Eagles. But on the flip side of the ball, then Eagles on the offensive side, Gav, let's say Hurts 246 yards through the air. Saquon Barkley was 118, averaged just under 8 yards a carry. Obviously, that massive one in the first Eagles player of the game. You know him better than anybody here. So, how do you sum up his performance?
Well, I think Saquon did Saquon things right. I mean, right from the get go, that opening touchdown, just another home run play, but by Saquon Barkley. I think it was just under 70 yards in this one. For the opener, and I think that just obviously set the tone for the day. But very quickly found the end zone a second time, and then got his hat trick later on in the game. But when you've got someone like that, I think it's really understated what talent the Eagles have in the passing game. It's just that they don't need to lean as heavily on them. You've got AJ Brown, you've got Devonta Smith, you've got Jalen Hurts, who, yes, I know there's some question marks both in terms of his absolute ceiling and his fitness, but I think certainly if you have a defense that has to sell out to stop the run, then you're going to give players like that opportunity. And I think the other thing that's really worth talking about is, and it came up in the commentary last night, the receivers that the Eagles have, in particular AJ Brown, they're more than happy to get involved in that run game. They're happy to do the dirty work to make the blocks, spring Barkley and the run backs free. So I think it was a complete team performance. You don't get to 50 plus points on the strength of just one player. And I think the Eagles have said, they have to some extent been flying under the radar for most of the season. I think as the months have gone by, they've started to kind of get more folks' agendas, a Super Bowl pick, which, if that was you, it certainly come good. But I think they do look like a legit contender. I mean, obviously we're down to 2 teams anyway, but I think we do look like a side that can take on the Chiefs.
Yeah. As you mentioned, that spread that out. Just looking at the yardage across the offensive side of the ball for the Eagles. So Barkley was 118 yards. Shipley went for 77 on 4 attempts. Then you had AJ Brown in 96 and Dallas Goedert in 85. So you've got there the amount of players that have got reaching nearly 100 yards across the whole team shows that how much they spread out. And the fact, like you said, Gav, it wasn't all about Barkley. Yeah, he got 3 touchdowns. So did Hurts, but Hurts is worth 3 touchdowns for 16 yards. So that doesn't really. It's just he was pushes and short yardage. I mean, so it does show how much it was spread out across that whole Eagles offense, doesn't it, Gav?
Yeah, and I think Shipley's a really important one to talk about in particular because I think we all picked up on Kenneth Gainwell going down with an injury in the second half, and we thought, okay, what are you going to do? Obviously, you've still got your main bell cow and Barkley, but you need someone that's going to be able to spell for him, change the tempo, and just give him the odd breather here and there. And to know that you've got someone else that can come in for a stint, make those explosive plays, I think that's going to be a really important piece of the puzzle for this Eagles team.
Shipley on kickoff returns also went for just under 90 yards as well, and 3 kickoff returns as well. So, where are we at? What did I say on the ground? Sorry, just let me get back to the stats. So, Will Shipley went for just under 167 yards, all-purpose yards last night. That's on four rushes and 3 kickoff returns. Those kickoff returns of 30 yards are giving you a great starting point because 9 times out of 10, you're starting inside, at least inside your 5, if not in the end zone. So you're getting, well, I suppose if they're in the end zone, it'd be a touchback anyway, but it gives them that momentum that they can get 30 yards on a kick return. Something, just to flip back to the Commanders for a second, something we spoke about last night in our chat was that the Commanders had to get off to a good start. They had to go out and be aggressive in the show, and they were. They went for it on 4th down twice. One was like very risky, but then they got another one and they kicked a field goal, and I still can't understand that decision. I know the numbers probably say take the points, but if you're being aggressive and you're going for those 2 4th downs that early in the game, one in your own half, surely you keep that aggressiveness going because you're showing them what you want to do. Sarah, what was your thoughts on that decision to kick on that third, fourth down?
I mean, yeah, I was just a bit like, if you're going to do it, do it. Like, if you're going to put up, if you're the best team at fourth down completions, if you're going to do it, do it. And I guess that maybe it shows that I don't want to say, because obviously if you're in the championship game, you want to win it. Like, you're just going to throw it out all on the line, which again, what on the flip side is what I think somebody in the game after tried to throw it all on the line. It didn't work for them, but at least you know, oh, okay, like it is what it is. So I was shocked. I get it. You do want the points. I think maybe at that point they were like, we just need to throw something up on the board here. And maybe in retrospect, they're glad they did because of the scoreline. But yeah, no, I was confused. If you're going to do it, you're going to put the camp out that you are the best at doing fourth downs, then you would surely just keep doing it the full time.
Because to me it looks like you've already got two, so the defence is already real, and the fans are like, oh no, it's another fourth down. You then opt not to try it. If you at least try and you don't get it, the defence is going to get a buzz out of it. But you're then going, do you know what, we're going to step off the field here. That's a massive one for that defence that's already lost on two big fourth downs on the same drive. I just don't get it. Gav, what's your thoughts on
it? Yeah, I mean, I think I'm I guess I'm probably the counterpoint to this. So I think what we are seeing in the championship weekend is that all four of the teams that made it this far lead the league in fourth down conversions. So I think certainly the calculus is changing in the game. You know, football's always been a four down game, but actually the top teams are going for it more and more. So that is a big part of the thing. But I think there is also that element of it's what are you trading off? And I think once you cross your own 40, that's when most teams will start to get into four down territory. But once you get up towards the goal line, then actually the certainty of a field goal becomes more appealing. So I think there is a point that if you're like the 40 yard line, the 35 yard line, and you're on fourth down, there is a thinking, well, actually, you're not guaranteed, especially if it's, you know, cold weather that you've got in January. That does have an impact on the kicking game. But once you're getting closer to that goal line, then obviously there's the opportunity to get three. And I think it's really important in these big games, particularly when the Eagles are at home, not to understate the importance of making a stop on defence and setting them up for success. So I think for me, I'm very much of the take the points mentality.
Yeah, fair point. One last shout out on this game before we go. Cressway, what a fake punt that was. I mean, every time you see fake punts, normally the passes go to the sidelines because the gunners do a hitch or whatever. To throw it right down the middle of the field into coverage, well, that was an unbelievable pass with this era.
Yeah, it happened, and I was like, oh my gosh, we're throwing, we're not punting it down. Yeah, because I mean, I guess they're set up to try and block, to try and start and go through the motions. So why you would throw it down the middle is absolutely insane. But of course it works because they don't expect it. They're expecting if you're going to do it, they're going to throw it to the side. So yeah, I was sort of like not paying attention because I thought it was going to just be a punt, and then all of a sudden it was all came off. So yeah, that was really impressive to see. I'd like to see that more and executed as well as it was executed last night.
Yeah, they have been very aggressive this season as Commanders, and going into next season they've obviously got a few pieces. They're going to lose a few. That I think on the defensive side of the ball, got a few free agents coming out of there as well. They need to decide who they're going to keep in there as well, but they're going to have to add to that team as well if they want to take the next step. I mean, I think they've got a good team at the moment. At running back, they've got Eckler and Robinson, not necessarily top level running backs. Wideouts have got Zacchaeus coming through. We've got McLaurin there as well, and Yami Brown's had a big season for them. They've also got Noah Brown as well. He went on the IR earlier in the season. So they're doing okay. Kind of wide out. They've got a couple of young players there, but it's a couple of pieces on the offensive side of the ball. And who knows, we might be back here next year in the same conversation about the Commanders, but maybe in the Super Bowl. But for mine and Gav's sake, let's hope not. All right, over to the AFC game. So with the Chiefs 32, the Bills 29, this was a game that was decided by a lot of very tight margins, a lot of third and fourth down margins that were very tight, maybe one way or another. We'll maybe get into. But Sarah, how did this game play out for you?
I mean, this is exactly what I expected it to be. It was tight. It was down to the wire. It seemed like a point ruling. It was interesting because, I mean, Mahomes is Mahomes, and me and Gavin shared this thought when we were watching it last night. He, at the start, the first couple of snaps, it did not look like the typical Mahomes. It looked like we had to warm up and we had to get into the rhythm of it. It was that weird pass off that he was doing, and then obviously the fumble. I was like, what is going on here? That doesn't look like as. And I guess they sort of like how the Eagles were doing, how the Eagles did with the Commanders. The Bills were trying to capitalise on that, but there just wasn't enough of those moments for them to capitalise on. So as soon as Mahomes got in that rhythm, he was in that rhythm. Just looking at his stats. So what he was 245 passing yards, 1 passing touchdown, 2 rushing touchdowns. I mean, that's a typical Mahomes playoff appearance. But yeah, I feel for the Bills, as I'm sure a lot of people, most of the world, minus maybe Kansas City, feel for them. In a dramatic fashion, they continue to show their dominance, I guess, against them. It's their 7th straight AFC Championship appearance, and the Bills again are at square one again for next year. I enjoyed watching parts I watched live and watching the highlights afterwards.
Yeah. I think you mentioned there about Mahomes coming out first. Obviously, the Bills, that first drive, Josh Allen just looked a bit nervy in that first drive. I don't know what it was about. He was trying to force it. It just didn't look natural at all from Gavin. Not a great way to start a game in Arrowhead. Is looking nervy, not really getting into your rhythm that quick, was it?
No, and I think it has been a challenge for the Bills throughout the playoffs. They have been slow starters, both against Denver and also against the Ravens. Perhaps more so in defense, but I think Josh Allen's had his struggles as well. But I think the big factor that's probably missed both just in that opening segment, but I think in terms of the game as a whole, is actually the importance of the Chiefs' defense and particularly the pressure game that's coming along with that. So I think Josh Allen faced more pressure yesterday than he has done all season. I think it's 46% of all of his dropbacks. And I think you were seeing that very early on. Yes, he was making some wild throws, but he wasn't getting a lot of time to get rid of the ball. And I think that obviously that was a theme that would continue right the way to the end of the game. And I think that ultimately that's probably what's been missed in the conversation is that when push comes to shove, yes, Patrick Mahomes did make big plays throughout the game, but the Bills had the ball starting to drive with, I think, 3 minutes 33 exactly to kick off. And essentially, they're down 3. It's their chance to go and win the game. And obviously it was the Chiefs D that made sure that didn't happen. It wasn't the usual Mahomes leads a game-winning drive.
Yeah.
And it's an end to that. So, I think there's a lot of credit needs to go to that entire unit, to Spagnuolo, to Chris Jones. There's a lot of pressure coming up the middle. And I think, don't get me wrong, Josh Allen made a number of great plays throughout the game, but he really had to work for everything he got.
Yeah, I mean, the Chiefs' defensive line just seemed to be getting through. The Bills just couldn't seem to protect Josh Allen. And what also was a massive thing as well, just reading the stats here, that we've seen a lot of Josh Allen on the quarterback sneaks, so the 3rd and short or 4th and short and getting them. The Chiefs were well prepared for that. They stuffed them on 3 quarterback sneaks, which, according to this, is the first time it's happened in the next gen era, which is since 2016. It's the first time quarterback has been stuffed 3 times on a quarterback sneak in the same game, which that's been a massive strength of the Bills this season, is getting those short yardage and just letting Josh Allen go. And he just didn't get that going because of that defensive line, or the whole defensive unit was stuffing them as well. So that sets the tone as well. Like, if Josh Allen can't do what Josh Allen normally does, then the Bills start having to look at other answers and other ways of getting through that defense, and they just couldn't find the answer, could they, Gav?
No, I mean, to say they couldn't find the answers probably a bit harsh because they did put up 29 points in this one. So, I mean, they had the touchdown just before the half from Mac Hollins. That was a great play with the defender draped all over him to really try and get some momentum back when they're down 11 points. James Cook had two touchdowns, the second of which in particular was fantastic. You know, that extension, fourth and goal, just to make the play was superb. But I mean, we talk about this. It's a game of fine margins, and you know, when it came down to it, the Bills did have the chance to win, and they couldn't get it done.
Just going back to the start of the game, we talked about Mahomes in the start of the game. Just look there, the Chiefs in their first two possessions converted on your first or second down on every play, the first two possessions. They never got to third down on the first two possessions. I just felt like Mahomes basically could have thrown that ball anywhere in those first two possessions. There was just, his wide receivers were just constantly wide open. Whether it was they just were beating the zone or the way they schemed was perfect. And obviously we always see Travis Kelce somehow manages to get himself open constantly, but every Chiefs wide receiver just seemed to have as much space as they wanted in that first quarter, didn't they, Sarah?
Yeah, like it was Worthy was running about as if there was nobody on him at any given point. I was like, where are we going right now? And it's that if you can't cover the wide receivers, then obviously you're just going to let them run an absolute riot over everything. Like it was even their offensive line was holding, and sometimes their offensive line wasn't even holding up. It was just making that Mahomes annoying magic of extending a play, and when it comes down to the high pressure situations, is just making something happen.
Yeah.
And waiting for the right time for somebody to be open. It was absolute, and I hate to be like, oh, it was magic, but it was magic. It's that Mahomes ability that we all go, oh, not again. But it happens every year.
Yeah, and what I'll say is we'll obviously talk about Super Bowl come next week, but that Chiefs defensive line is not going to get as much joy against the Eagles offensive line. And on the flip side of it, that Eagles defensive line is going to tear right through that Chiefs offensive line. So it's going to be interesting to see how that one plays out. But we'll cover that next week. I just thought I'd make that wee quick point. Right, Gav, a joke that we've had going for a season and a half, maybe longer. We'll bring it back up. Is the Bills' Super Bowl window firmly now shut? Or have they still got a chance?
I think as long as they've got Josh Allen, they've got a chance. I'd seen there was something in socials a couple of days ago that you saw like John Elway was 35, I think, by the time he won a Super Bowl. Josh Allen is going into his 8th year in the league. So I think even Peyton Manning, if I'm right, he was 2006, 2007 season. Again, he gets first ring. It definitely feels like Josh Allen is perhaps the Peyton to Mahomes' Brady in this new era. And absolutely, you do feel for the guy who's an immense talent, a different type of talent, it should be said, to Peyton Manning. But, he is, absolutely in that elite tier in the league. But I think we've already seen there's been the personnel changes within the Bills. He is a force, really, that you can build a team around. You've got young pieces in there like Deontay Coleman, you've got Khalil Shakir, and you've got James Cook. So I think that there is a young offense, cheap contracts right now. Yes, you are going to have to stock up in different positions, but I think that at the most important position that you can ask for, which is the quarterback, that the Bills have that critical piece. And I think that, it might be next year, it might be a couple of years down the line, but we will see them play in a title game.
I have seen it's probably going to be a lot of hot takes after the game last night. A lot of Bills fans on social media last night and on a lot of phone-ins basically saying, time to get rid of Sean McDermott. Sometimes you get to this point where coaches just keep getting you so far and just you can't get there. So it's going to be interesting to see if the Bills decide that we need a change here at head coach. Is that going to be the thing that gets us to the next level? I mean, they've got Joe Brady in the building. He interviewed for a lot of head coaching positions, so did they maybe think, well, let's give him a chance? It's going to be interesting to see how it plays out. We'll not talk about coaches getting sacked and stuff like that, but I think it's an interesting point to watch on this. Do the Bills make that tweak to see if it makes a difference? who knows? But it's obviously instant reactions after losing a championship game. Those fans might have calmed down by the time this goes out and maybe deciding that they wouldn't keep Sean McDermott. But we'll see how that one plays out. So, we've discussed the games. Super Bowl 59, February the 9th, UK time, 11:34 p.m. kickoff. Will be the Eagles and the Chiefs in New Orleans. So, we're interested to see how that one plays out. And we will have a preview show coming for you next week. So, keep an eye out for that. All right, let's move back to these shows then. We'll talk about this weekend. It was game day 4 in the Women's Flag Football League. We had the Midlands and South Conference playing on Saturday, and then the Highland North Conference playing yesterday. So on Saturday, probably two slightly surprising results coming out of those games where the Leicester Huntsmen defeated the Birmingham Lions 39-0. The Lions, I think this is their first year back in the league as a flag team led by Phoebe Schechter. She was missing this week. She was over in Philly covering the game for Sky, so that probably had a bit of an impact. From what we heard people talking about at the game yesterday, that will have had a major impact on the Lions missing Phoebe yesterday and Saturday. And then the nine-time champions Coventry Cougar, minus their QB1, were defeated by their local rivals, the Coventry Panthers, 31-13. So that leaves the Panthers undefeated on the season, and it leaves the Cougars one game back. I think both of them have already qualified for finals day, though, because of the way the rest of the league's sitting at the moment. So it'll be interesting to see how that one plays out. On Sunday, myself and Gav were on location in Glasgow for the pod. The match day 4 for the HNC. So the East Kilbride Pirates, both their teams welcome the Cheshire Huskies and the Leeds Samurai for both games. The results, I'll take you through the results and we'll discuss the games. So first that set of games with the Huskies playing the East Kilbride Pirates Black. So Huskies 12, East Kilbride 48. And then we had the Samurai 38, East Kilbride Pirates Red 0. So Gav, you missed these games, unfortunately, so you can't really give us much of insight. I had the drone up watching these games, but it was the first time I'd seen the Pirates women's flag team play, and the black team looks very, very polished. I was very impressed by them. A lot of good plays in there. I mean, they controlled very much the game. At 48-12, the scoreline kind of gives that away, but I was very impressed by them. Some really good players on the outside, really good quarterback, and they just seem to not really get ruffled in that game as well. The EK Red, this is their rookie year in the league, so they were beat 38-0. Watching that game, there was a lot of interceptions from the East Kilbride Pirates. I think on 3 plays in a row, so they gave up a pick six, and then they get the ball back, and then they were intercepted on the next play as well. So they really struggled to get anything going. Which then resulted in that score. In the second lot of games, we had East Kilbride Pirates Black 33 against Leeds Samurai 7. Gav, what did you make of that game?
Yeah, I mean, I think for the Pirates Black, it's a common theme across both the games. As I say, I can't really speak to the first game. I turned up a bit later on, but I think you've got players in there who, I mean, I played with them in mixed league 7 years ago, I think, in their rookie season. And you look at where they've come now. You've got obviously quarterback Ainsley Barclay. You've got Rob McCluskey, who's obviously now coaching the GB men under 21s, big part of Scottish flag team as well. And I think what you're starting to see is, that experience really shows when you consider that there has been women's league now for a number of years, but a lot of the individual teams are still relatively new and inexperienced. I think when you've got teams like the East Kilbride Pirates, like the Coventry Cougars and Panthers, who've been around for so long, that experience, that chemistry in the team really tells. But probably the one player who I've not played with personally and seen in the flesh for the first time for the Pirates Black, Zappy Coleman, who just absolutely phenomenal. Plays contact, not just with the Pirates or now Caledonia Chaos, but also with GB, and she's just an incredible player. Explosive.
Yeah, I mean, she caught everything that came her way yesterday. No matter where the pass was going, she was catching it. I'd love to see her stat lines for yesterday, because she was everything that was thrown at her. She caught several touchdowns, several just key clutch plays as well. There was even one where she stole a touchdown away from one of her teammates because the ball went over her head, and she managed to turn around and reach over to grab it, just as her teammate's standing like that, ready to catch the ball. she was unbelievable. So she deserves. We give her a shout out. She deserves it all the credit she got, because that was an unbelievable performance across both those games. Just it's the first time I had seen her playing as well. As you said, mentioned, Gav, she plays DB for the Chaos and for GB, so obviously she understands that side of the game as well in terms of a defensive point of view. So that probably helps her playing on offense for the Pirates. So yeah, massive shout out to Abby. She was definitely the MVP yesterday. She absolutely balled out in both those games. We have got a few bits of footage of her scoring some touchdowns. We'll get one of them out from the drone cam this week that you'll be able to see from above. You'll be able to see. Gav made a good point. When you actually watch the video, you can see the way the play design played out. It was perfect. So, well, that game was ongoing. From the first game, the East Kilbride Pirates Red, we didn't expect much from them getting into their second game, but it was the Huskies 31, the East Kilbride Pirates Red 21, and this was an unbelievable game to watch. They made a change at quarterback getting into the second game, and they managed to get a lot of momentum going in this game. They matched the Huskies score for most of the game, and I think there were one point. Let me try and do my sums right here. They were 22 18 up, I think it was. They were up anyway, and then the Huskies scored a touchdown. Pirates then had to obviously try and get the lead back, which they unfortunately couldn't do. They turned over on downs, and then the Huskies went up and scored again, and that kind of killed the game. But they were right in it right to the end, Gav. Compared to the first game, it was a complete night and day performance.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, certainly as a contest, this was 100% the game of the day. And, I think to give credit to the Pirates Red team, it's been a long, hard season for them. They're still hunting for that first win in the league. And I think you could really tell that, the energy was flowing from them as they got into that game. They were keeping pace almost the entire way. There's some superb touchdowns scored. And I think, we can probably dip into a wee bit of bias. Obviously, East Kilbride being the Scottish side here, I think credit does need to be given to the Huskies that, you are making a long trip for this game day. Weather's not great. You've got a team that's fired up, and it can get a wee bit nervous. You're thinking this is a game that you're probably expecting to win, and you find that you're getting into the final minutes and you're only up by 3 points. They did close it out. They got the first down, they got the touchdown. So I think fair play to them that they took care of business when they had to. But that was a really great game of football on both sides. And I think that's what you want in the league. We know that there's elite teams at the top of the conference on both sides, but as the women's league starts to grow and expand, seeing these competitive, entertaining games from top to bottom is really what we want to see.
The energy on the sideline for that game was unbelievable. Just as soon as the Pirates knew they were in the game, they knew, like the first game, I think the energy was a bit low because they knew the game was kind of beyond them, but they knew it. The energy in that sideline. There was one of the touchdowns. I think it was the one to go up to 22 points. And the whole place just erupted. I think the Blacks game had finished by then as well, so the whole team were cheering them on. And it would have given those players in the Reds team a bit of confidence that, what, we can do this. And it'll be good to see how they develop. There's one more game day to go on both conferences, which 22nd of February, I believe that is. Game day for both of them. Pirates are away. I can't remember where they are. Is it Aberdeen? Aberdeen.
The Snowcats and the two East Kilbride sides will be playing.
And then, so one more game day on both conferences, and then we've got finals day up here at Ravenscraig in Motherwell March, which we will be there to cover on the day. So we'll be interested to see how it all plays out ahead of that. But those victories for the East Kilbride Black yesterday confirmed them as number one seed for finals day. So not only the number one win their division, they're confirmed as number one seed for finals day as well. So we will give that another shout out nearer the time. So, but keep your eye on the socials for that. All right, let's go back. I made a joke about it at the start when I was talking about Sarah not wanting to join us tonight and going to the vets and all that. Obviously, that was a bit of a throwback to the Jags and Liam Cohn and how that all played out last week. So, Sarah, first before we get to Liam Cohn, he obviously said no tease. And then suddenly Trent Balky was gone and Liam Cohn was back in the building again. So,
It's like we said that all along was maybe the problem. Wow.
So,
Oh my gosh.
first of all, are you happy? What do you think this means for your team going forward? And gives your general thoughts on the appointment of Liam Cohn.
Well, if people couldn't tell by my little post, I was delighted. I am slightly annoyed that it is late than what I would have wanted it to be. I made it very, very clear that I was not happy with the decision to keep him but send everybody else packing. Very odd to me. And obviously, I don't know what's happened behind the closed doors. I don't know if he said, I'll come if you drop him, and they went, no, I'll go think about it. And then obviously, he's driven, flown, whatever he's done, back to Tampa to then be told, oh, we'll give you all this money. And then he's gone, yeah, okay, no problem, I'll think about it. Turned out, walked out the door and on the way back again. And some madness of what, three and a half hours, I think was the time. Because 3.5 hours away from, I think that was it. The Bucks were absolutely shocked. The thing is, I'm laughing at the now rivalry we have with the Bucks because and that seems to be the new thing, and it's just Bucks fans and Jags fans just shooting at each other. It's absolute madness. However, from what I've been reading, obviously Baselli was part of those kind of interviews and stuff. Like Tony Baselli obviously is is one of the Jags Hall of Famers. And they said that he was very impressive when he came in. He commanded the room. They asked him what he would do, and the big main focus was that he knows that Trevor Lawrence is there. We can't get rid of Trevor at any point coming up soon. We have paid him all this money. We have to use him. And he was very excited to work with him to continue to build the offense around him. And I think the big thing to consider with when he went to the Bucks was there was really no player change in that season. There was no big change for him. They didn't really add any more players. They just drafted a running back. There was no big exciting news for the Buccaneers. And he continued to build on what they have built upon. Now, I know they play in the NFC South. I know that's not the most exciting division, but he clearly wants to be there. He wants to work on what there is already there, which was what we spoke about all year in the British 24 season. Is we had the best team we've ever had. Something just wasn't working and something wasn't connecting. So I'm very happy. I'm hearing all the Bucks fans be like, well, I'll just do the same to you. And I'm like, oh, well, really, I don't really know. Do you really leave a head coaching position after a year unless you get fired? I don't really know. I'm happy. And the 49ers are happy. So, do you know what? It's a good day to be a Jags and a 49ers fan.
It's a good day to be a fan of any team in the NFL with a new head coach apart from the Dallas Cowboys.
Oh, look at that segue. Woo!
No. We'll move on now. So obviously, Cowboys appointed Brian Schottenheimer, promoted him from offensive coordinator to head coach. I still don't know what to make of it. I'm definitely not happy with it. If anybody hasn't seen what my post on social media, you know I'm not happy with it. But just before we started recording, they done his press conference. And all along I've been saying, why are we not speaking to top contenders for head coach? Like, the Leslie Fraser interview very much now feels like that would just to satisfy the Rooney Rule. I know we interviewed Robert Saleh as well, but they maybe had the potential to bring him in as the head coach. Obviously spoke to Kellen Moore as well. Something Jerry Jones said today has now made that all make perfect sense to me. So he says we spoke to a lot of coaches. So obviously we didn't interview them, but he said we spoke. So he's obviously reached out and said to coaches, what's your thoughts? I'll tell you right now why this has all fallen down, because Jerry Jones decided that no matter who was going to be the head coach, Brian Schottenheimer was going to be our play caller next season. He came out and said that no matter what happened, Brian Schottenheimer was calling the plays next season. Whether he was offensive coordinator or whether he was head coach, he was calling the plays. So if you go to a top head coach contender and say, right, okay, why don't you come in for an interview, but your OC's already there and he's going to be playing the calls, I'm going to tell you where to go. There's not a chance that a head coach is coming into a situation like that where the owner is basically telling him what's happening below him already. That then makes me think he's maybe had conversations with top contenders and they've went, nah, I'm not doing that, that's not happening.
Well, I suppose it would be exactly the same thing. I mean, I'll jump on my Press Taylor hate again, but it would have been the same thing as if they turned around and said, "Oh, we're keeping Press Taylor."
Yeah.
They'd be like, "No, of course not. I'm not doing this." Like, because
Yeah.
we've seen it play out, and we've seen exactly what happens, and we've seen the repercussions of it.
Yeah.
So a head coach wants to come in and set up camp. They want to bring who they want. They want the personnel. They want who they know works well with what they're planning to bring in, what system they're going to run. So yeah, that makes total sense.
But I get keeping offensive coordinator, because you see that happening. New head coach comes in, and the offensive coordinator stays. I don't have a problem with that. It's Jerry Jones deciding that Brian Schottenheimer was calling the plays. If you bring in, let's just talk about somebody like Liam Cohen. Let's talk about Ben Johnson. All these offensive minds that are in the league that are massively, teams want them because of these offensive minds. They then turn and say, "You're good enough for head coach, but we don't think you should call the plays." That just makes no sense to me whatsoever. Do you know what I mean? Especially, and on the flip side, that if you've got someone like an Aaron Glenn, who's on the defensive side of the ball, he's going to want to pick someone that he trusts to call his plays because he's a defensive mind. So he needs someone that he trusts calling his plays on the other side of the ball as a head coach. So there we go. Jerry Jones has solved the mystery for us all today by deciding that he decided who was calling the plays, which is why we've now got Brian Schottenheimer. I obviously that bit as well, but I just don't get. So Mike McCarthy obviously called the plays last year, so majority of the blame is going to fall on him. So you're now giving someone the head coaching job who didn't even call your plays last year as offensive coordinator. Your offense last year absolutely sucked. I mean, all the key categories, we were bottom. I've got the stats here. Yards per game, we were 17th in the league. Everything else, the highest we were was 21st in the league. Everything else was 27, 26, 31, 32, 27. That's an offence, even though Mike McCarthy is calling the plays, that's an offence that was run and coached by Brian Schottenheimer, who's now our head coach. I just don't get it at all. Well, I do get it now because I guarantee you that that's why we've not had any decent contenders in talking to us, because Jerry Jones has decided that Brian Schottenheimer's calling the plays. Gav, what's your thoughts on it?
Yeah, I mean, I think you've said it. I mean, the problem here is it really comes down to the ownership, because Dallas is a team that, in relative terms, at least with as far as the regular season is concerned, we can crack jokes about the postseason, but in terms of the regular season, the Dallas Cowboys have been one of the more successful teams of recent years. But there's expectations. We have the ownership, but also the fan base. It's a football team that really needs someone that can come in and redefine the culture. And I think that obviously the problem you have with Schottenheimer is that he's a continuity candidate. Now, the thing is that's you think that's probably a role where you want to have a head coach come in from elsewhere and look at it. The thing about people who've already been a head coach in the league is they have made their money. So as much as there's only a limited number of opportunities in the league, and if you're a coordinator who aspires to be a head coach, you probably have to take what's out there. At least, I mean, if not in the first cycle, certainly in the next one when you're ready to make that leap. But if for the top candidates, let's talk about Pete Carroll, who I know was mentioned in rumours. He's 70 years old. He's made his money. He can sit and wait. He's been teaching at USC. He can wait and he can pick his moment. And I think it does speak volumes that he didn't end up there. Now I know that part of that is Jerry Jones' influence, but if Pete Carroll had an offer on the table from Dallas, would he have taken that over Las Vegas? I think he might have still stuck to the Vegas option personally. And I think, regrettably, if you're a Cowboys fan, that's probably something that you're going to be stuck with until Jerry Jones passes on the reins, which unfortunately might be through his will rather than anything else.
That is going to be the problem. The next person in charge is already there to help them make the decisions, and it's his son, Stephen. Two things I will say, and the point you made, and it is to give Brian Schottenheimer a bit of credit, because you know what? I've got nothing against him as a person. I'm going to have to just give him benefit of the doubt and see what happens. This annoyance at me is that the ownership is not at Brian Schottenheimer as a person, because do you know what? He's now my head coach. I'm going to have to get behind him, and I'm going to have to just see what happens. But something you mentioned about culture, Gav, is he was asked today what he wants to do, and he mentioned about building a culture. He said, I want to build one of the best cultures of a sports team in the USA. So already he's talking about there must have been an issue there that he's now coming out and saying, I need to build this culture. So he recognises there's something that wasn't right that he needs to change, which fair play to him. Coming out right from the start and saying that shows a bit of intent. One last thing he said was, yeah, I might be an X's and O's guy, but I'm also a people guy. And when he said that, Dak Prescott was visibly heard basically approving of that. So I'm assuming that Jerry Jones may have a conversation with Dak Prescott about this decision, and he's got the support of him, because from that comment it makes me sound that Dak Prescott does support Brian Schottenheimer. So if you've got the backing of your quarterback already, you're kind of halfway there to getting started in a good position. So we can only wait and see what happens. My anger is directed at the ownership rather than the coach himself. So we are bringing in Matt Eberflus as a defensive coordinator, which is a great move. I mean, he obviously didn't maybe do as well as he should have as the Bears head coach, but as a defensive mind, that's a great move, and it gives Schottenheimer an experienced defensive coordinator. Like we mentioned about having offensive minds, having someone that they can trust on the other side of the ball. Schottenheimer now doesn't have to worry about the defensive side of the ball because Matt Eberflus will have that nailed down. I am disappointed that we've lost Al Harris, though. That was a massive disappointment that we lost him because I think he was very good. He was very instrumental in the development of Deron Bland last season as well. It's left us the same situation when Aidan Doherty left us last year. Someone that went under the radar, didn't get enough credit, that we've now lost, that could have potentially been a key factor in that. So we're interested to see Matt Eberflus to fight, building his defensive side of the team and see who the Cowboys bring in as offensive coordinator now to kind of not call the plays by the looks of it. But yeah, it'd also be interesting to see where Jason Witten falls into the list, because for some reason he seems to be getting put in by Jerry Jones for some reason. But we'll see how this all plays out. So, Gav, one other big move that you mentioned this week was Pete Carroll taking the Raiders job. Yeah, I mean, I think for me, Raiders, it's a good move for them. It's a good move for Pete Carroll. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, I think for the Raiders, it's mentioned that some of these jobs, quite a few of these jobs, actually needed a former head coach to come in. I had a lot of time, a lot of respect for Antonio Pierce, former Super Bowl winning Giant, but I think as soon as he took on that head coach's job, I mean, I guess it's true for everyone, but I felt his days were numbered as soon as he stepped into the role. Yes, he had the locker room initially, but I think in a situation like Vegas, he was always going to get gobbled up by the ownership. With Pete Carroll, you've got someone who has been in the league as long as anyone has. He knows what it takes to win. He has made mistakes on the biggest stage. I'm hoping he will run the ball when he has to. But I think the Raiders, I think we would all be quite comfortable saying it's not really a hot take to say that this is a team that has always underperformed. And don't get me wrong, there's going to be competition in that AFC West. Of course, you've got the Chiefs there. You've got a resurgent Chargers side. And obviously, Bo Nix and the Broncos, I think, is going to make it really competitive from that angle. But I think you've got a man like Pete Carroll who is going to, I think, just reinvigorate and inspire that franchise. The other thing is, of course, separate to Carroll, you've got Brady now in the ownership as well. So I think with Al Davis and again with his son kind of taking on the ownership, there was always questions about it being kind of a basket case franchise. But I think even if it's only as a partial owner, I'm expecting to see a bit of a transformation from that organisation as a whole. So it'll be an exciting one to watch.
Yeah, I think what's going to be interesting to see who Pete Carroll adds to his staff, because as you mentioned, he's 73. How much of an overall responsibility is he wanting to take? Does he just want to be the head coach? Does he want to be the play caller on the other side of the ball? So it's going to be interesting to see who he adds to his staff from that aspect. Does he just want to set the culture? Does he want to just kind of set the standard, but does he bring anybody else in to cover? Sarah, what's your thoughts on this move?
I totally agree. I think the Raiders need somebody who knows what they're doing and what is happening. I feel like they've been moving about. They've not been kind of like they've been okay. They're existing. So I think it's a smart move. I could see him. I could see him putting somebody in as the offensive coordinator or the defensive coordinator that he can then start to pass on some of that knowledge down to him and really build up for the eventual departure that he will make. Because we can't live forever, unfortunately, and he can't coach forever because that's probably not good for not good. But so I'll be interested to see. I think it will be. And probably the fact that Brady is there is a big factor. Do you not want somebody there that knows what it's like to win, knows what it's understanding? So you put that from two sides, and that'll be interesting to see what then becomes of that if Brady then makes a shift anywhere else in the organisation. That would be the interesting call now, wouldn't it?
So that just leaves one position still open. So the Saints are still on the search for their head coach. Their ex-head coach Dennis Allen has now just been appointed as the Bears defensive coordinator. Ben Johnson's really building a great team there for him. But in terms of the Saints, we've got one. That's the team left with places to go. We have heard that they're interviewing Kellen Moore this week. They've also interviewed a few other people. Mike McCarthy's there as well. Where do you see who's going to land at the Saints, Sarah? Do you think?
I mean, the Saints is a tricky one, right? Because I remember I was in New Orleans for their first game this season. I didn't see it in their stadium. I saw the atmosphere and I saw their win, and I was like, oh my gosh, where does this come from? I was shocked to see the performance they were giving out, and then all of a sudden we just fell down the stairs. It was an absolute. I had no idea what was happening. So I guess all the components could be there for something to happen. And it's just who's going to be there and who's going to shake it up and who's going to actually put somebody in at quarterback who can withstand being a quarterback for longer than 5 games. It seems to be their big problem. And maybe that is Moore. Maybe that is him. Maybe that is Mike McCarthy. I think either of those options is good for them. I do think they'll have to have a bit of an offensive overhaul just with kind of the concepts that they run or have run in the past. Which I guess maybe would put you maybe more towards McCarthy than it would towards Moore. And maybe Moore's quite happy working with Jalen Hurts because there's some other stuff going on in the Eagles. So, I like either of those options. Either of those options are good. Good luck, Saints. I hope you continue a season how you start a season.
Yeah. I mean, the other person, they've interviewed Anthony Weaver, the Dolphins defensive coordinator. He's had 2 interviews from, so he's obviously high up the list of people that you want to go for. And he's probably one of those ones that's in a position now where you mentioned earlier on as a coordinator, you need to take your opportunities when they come along. So this might be one for him. I don't think they go for. I don't think Kellen Moore goes there. I think they'll interview, and I think Kellen Moore. There's just, I suppose it depends on what way Kellen Moore looks at it. It gives him a chance to reset what happens in New Orleans, but the kind of kudos that Kellen Moore's probably got in the league now, he probably would want something bigger than that and a better opportunity, maybe a chance to win rather than a rebuild. Whereas someone like Mike McCarthy, who obviously it's not worked out at the Cowboys, it's maybe, I'm going to say an easy job for that's not what I mean, but he's got the experience to go in there, spend a couple of years rebuilding the culture, and he has the time to do that. Whereas Kellen Moore's maybe looking at the bigger picture, thinking if I go in there and it doesn't work very quickly, his opportunities could be then suddenly maybe in the future be like, well, yeah, we thought he was good, but he's went in there and not really done much. So he's maybe looking at the bigger picture of if I hold out for next season, especially if the Eagles win the Super Bowl, then he could be looking at bigger opportunities coming in the next season or even at some point in the future. What's your thoughts on the Saints position, Gav?
I mean, I think my first reflection is that if I recall correctly, Dennis Allen was the first coach to get fired this season. I think he went before Eberflus, didn't he? So you've got a situation where Saints were the first team to get rid of their head coach. I know that some of the other franchises might have known that they were moving on at the end of the season, Sarah, and were quietly planning for that. But but the Saints, it's not been a secret, and yet somehow they are the last team to find themselves a dance partner. So I think it doesn't reflect well on the organisation and I guess the offer that's on the table. And you can see why some of the highly fated coordinators went to where they did. Obviously, Aaron Glenn has that connection with the Jets, but he also is going to a team that has a good defense, that has some key offensive players like Brees Hall, like Garrett Wilson. We know that Ben Johnson, offensive mind, has gone to the Bears, who, despite not setting the world on fire, has a second year or will have a second year quarterback in Caleb Williams, who still has, a high ceiling. You've got Roma Dunze there. There's multiple pieces that he can take advantage of very quickly. Then you look at the Saints, and the Saints have David Carr, who has been in the league a long time, and you've got Spencer Rattler, who, okay, rookie, but didn't show a great deal of promise. It's also a franchise that is, we make a lot of jokes about because they're in cap hell. So as a situation to go to as a head coach, it's not an attractive one to look at. And obviously in the NFL, you can always turn things around. That you can develop players. You can build through the draft. You can play around with the numbers where the cap's concerned. But I think that even in the NFC South, where I think you do have a Bucks team that has shown a decent level of competitiveness. The Panthers also look like they're on the up as a team. I think that's been a low key thing this season, that they are actually starting to trend upwards. It's not going to be easy, and I think it's going to require someone that has a great deal of patience going there. So, I mean, I wish them all the luck, but it's going to be a tough job for whoever takes that one on.
Yeah, those exact points are what make me think it's going to be Mike McCarthy. It's very similar to the Raiders situation, where both teams are a bit of a dumpster fire. They've not really got anything going for them at all. They need someone that's come in, set a culture, reset the whole thing. Like you said, Gav, patience is going to be key, and something like Mike McCarthy will have earned the right to get that time to rebuild. Whereas bringing in a first year head coach, you as a owner, a year in, if that doesn't go well, you suddenly think this isn't working. We need to move on from him already. Do you know what I mean? We've seen it happen so many times where these feted coordinators come into a role and suddenly at the end of the first season they're out. So yeah, I think especially someone like Kellen Moore. Kellen Moore is a very clever person. I don't see him going anywhere near this, and I think the reason why the Saints have taken so long to make a decision is I think they've been waiting Kellen Moore. I think they've put all their eggs into the Kellen Moore basket, hoping that he's going to take it. If he's a smart guy, he's nowhere near it. In terms of Mike McCarthy, yes, I could see him taking it. Anthony Weaver, one of those ones. It's maybe not a kind of very well wanted coordinator in terms of the big position. So he's like, well, this could be my opportunity. I'll go and take it. Rizzy's there as well. He's obviously the interim coach. He's not getting it. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see how that one plays out. But yeah, I very much in the bandwagon of it. Is Kellen Moore would be so stupid to go there. Mike McCarthy actually probably very smart to go there. Looking at it that way. All right, folks, I think that gets us to any other points that we want to make before we finish up, guys? If you've got anything else you want to chat about?
I just want to say that entire segment that I've just made was such a read, and I loved every single second of it. I was like, this is scathing. It was like so well done. It's just like, it was very clever. It was a good read. I enjoyed
it. One shout out, another shout out we have to give out this week is to Gridiron Magazine. After we put up a clip last week of Graham talking about the Texans and stuff like that, Craig from Gridiron Magazine got in touch with us, and they featured us in their weekly newsletter this week. So thanks very much to Craig for that. If you're not subscribed to Gridiron Magazine, then why not? Because it's been going on for years, a long time. It's been, obviously we used to have First Down magazine in the UK as well, but Gridiron Magazine's still going strong. They've got their episodes. I was going to say, I'm getting myself mixed up with them. They've got their magazines coming out, and they've got their weekly newsletter. So check them out if you possibly can. guys, it's been a quick 58 minutes tonight. I think we've absolutely covered a lot, and it seems they've done it in, it feels like, about 10-15 minutes. So hopefully we haven't spoke too fast for those listeners outside the Scottish borders. But we will be back with you next week for next week's Super Bowl preview show. That'll be coming post Pro Bowl. Our February in conversations with are coming soon as well. We have one guest confirmed. We have another one just waiting to get confirmed. So we've got that coming ahead as well. So keep an eye on all our social media, especially on Instagram, because that's where we do everything. And we will have these episodes out to you and in your ears before you know it. Sarah, thanks very much for joining us tonight.
Thanks, Al. I'm glad I skipped the bits for this, but there you go.
Poor dog.
I know, my poor pupper. No, it's fine.
Yeah, pleasure as always.
Yep. Cheers. Thanks for having us.
Perfect. And thanks for watching and listening, folks. Until next week, we'll see you soon.